You've probably noticed couples where there's a substantial age difference, and perhaps you've wondered why a younger woman might be drawn to a significantly older man. Is it just about financial security, as many people hastily assume? Or are there deeper, more meaningful reasons that explain this preference? The truth goes far beyond the obvious, and today we'll uncover the real motivations behind these choices from a perspective that combines psychology, philosophy, and, above all, the principles of Stoicism. Modern relationships are undergoing a period of redefinition and broadening possibilities. Couples with large age gaps no longer cause the same surprise they once did, but there is still genuine curiosity about what underlies this attraction. You might think it's all about material interests or a search for security, but the reality is much more complex and fascinating. When we carefully observe these relationships, we notice an intriguing pattern. It's not simply age itself that attracts someone, but a set of qualities and characteristics that generally, though not always, develop over the years. This is where our journey of understanding begins. It will not only help you grasp what some women seek, but also show how you can cultivate these qualities in yourself, regardless of your chronological age. Emotional maturity is likely the most decisive factor in this equation. Picture a young couple facing their first major crisis: heated arguments, mutual accusations, drama, and instability. Now imagine the same situation with a more experienced man, someone who's navigated numerous storms in life and learned how to stay steady in rough waters. The difference is striking. Men who have lived longer often develop an impressive ability to remain calm and emotionally balanced, even in the most challenging situations. This is one of the central premises of Stoicism, the ability not to be controlled by negative emotions, but rather to observe them, understand them, and respond with rationality and serenity. When a woman chooses an older partner, she's often valuing this emotional stability, this knack for avoiding the escalation of minor problems into major crises. Take Epictetus as an example, one of the great Stoic philosophers. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A man who has internalized that wisdom can keep things in perspective even in difficult moments. He doesn't explode with anger over small inconveniences, doesn't drown in baseless jealousy, and doesn't make rash decisions in the heat of the moment. That calm demeanor creates an environment of emotional security that many women find deeply attractive. The reality is that over the years, many men learn, sometimes the hard way, that impulsive reactions only worsen situations. They discover that taking a deep breath, analyzing the problem calmly, and responding wisely is far more effective. This is a lesson Stoicism has taught for over 2,000 years, and one that many men absorb naturally through life experience. As you mature emotionally, you begin to understand you don't need to win every argument, prove you're right all the time, or constantly reinforce your ego. Freeing yourself from the chains of insecurity is profoundly appealing. A woman who chooses an older partner is often choosing not to deal with ego games, adolescent insecurities, or that relentless need for validation so common in many younger relationships. In contrast to the emotional volatility sometimes seen in younger men, the ability of a mature man to remain composed in the face of challenges conveys a sense of security that goes beyond financial concerns. It's the assurance that no matter what life brings, the two of you will face it together with wisdom and balance, minus the unnecessary drama that too often seeps into relationships. This emotional maturity also shapes how conflicts are approached. An older man typically understands that an argument isn't about attacking the person, but resolving a specific problem. He's learned to separate the issues, communicate feelings without aggression, listen actively without interrupting, and seek solutions instead of scapegoats. This mature conflict resolution style creates a more harmonious, constructive atmosphere. Another key aspect of this preference involves the life experience an older man has accumulated. It's not just that he's lived more years, but that he's extracted wisdom from his experiences. As Seneca once said, It doesn't matter how long you live, but how well you live. A man who has used his experiences to grow carries an invaluable treasure of practical knowledge about life, relationships, and himself. Think of the challenges you've faced so far: career dilemmas, family issues, losses, frustrations, successes, failures. Each of these experiences, when properly processed, makes you a bit wiser, more aware of human nature, and better equipped to handle life's complexities. This reservoir of experiences and lessons learned has immense value in a relationship. A woman who chooses a more experienced partner often values this practical wisdom and the broader perspective he can offer. When she faces a professional challenge, for instance, she can rely on someone who's handled similar situations and developed effective coping strategies. When an important decision looms, she has beside her someone who's already stood at similar crossroads and can provide valuable insights. It's like having a guide along a difficult trail. Someone who's been down that path before knows the pitfalls and recognizes which detours to avoid and which scenic views are worth the detour. This guidance is not about control or domination. Rather, it's a partnership in which one person's experience enriches the journey of the other, creating a unique synergy. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Recognizing that we can choose how we respond to life's circumstances rather than simply reacting to them is among the most important lessons experience teaches. When a man applies this wisdom in his life, he becomes a steady harbor amid the inevitable storms of existence. Emotional stability and life experience converge to create a presence many women describe as solid or grounded. It's the sense of being with someone who isn't easily rattled, who doesn't get lost in passing emotions, who keeps perspective even in challenging situations. This quality, which Stoics referred to as ataraxia or tranquility of the soul, is incredibly rare and valuable in an increasingly hectic and unstable world. Along with these emotional and philosophical aspects, there is also a practical dimension. The financial stability often associated with older men shouldn't be dismissed as simple materialism, but rather seen as a quest for security and broader possibilities. Wanting to build a life with someone who has moved beyond the initial struggles and uncertainties of early adulthood is a natural desire. However, it would be a serious mistake to reduce this preference to mere finances. What many women appreciate is not just the money itself, but a sort of financial maturity, the ability to manage resources responsibly, plan for the future, and make prudent money decisions. Financial maturity typically goes hand in hand with maturity in other areas of life, creating a set of very appealing traits. As Epictetus taught, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. A man who embraces this wisdom, who doesn't measure his happiness or self-worth by compulsive consumption or flashy displays, and who values moderation and simplicity, provides a sense of security that goes far deeper than finances. It's the security of someone who has found internal balance and isn't constantly searching for external validation. Having clear goals and working persistently toward them is another characteristic often associated with older men. While many younger people are still exploring different paths and frequently switching directions, a mature man usually has defined his priorities and steadily works toward achieving them. This clarity of purpose is very attractive, as it allows the couple to build a future on more solid ground. Imagine the difference between starting a relationship with someone who's still figuring everything out, frequently changing jobs, and reevaluating life goals, versus someone who already knows what he wants and is actively constructing that future. It's not a matter of which approach is better. Each has its own value and timing. But for many women, especially those who have their own goals firmly in mind, the second option offers a much steadier framework for building a life together. Effective communication is another major factor in this preference. Over time, many men refine their communication skills, learning to articulate thoughts and feelings in clear, constructive ways. They realize that to communicate is not just to speak, but also to listen. It's not merely conveying information, but building mutual understanding. A man who has learned to communicate well knows how to listen without interrupting, ask questions without judging, express disagreement without attacking, and share his vulnerabilities without manipulation. These skills, which often evolve with maturity, foster an atmosphere of genuine intimacy where both partners feel truly seen and heard. The Stoics placed great importance on honest, straightforward communication. Seneca wrote extensively on the need to choose one's words carefully and communicate with integrity. This openness creates a relational environment where problems can be discussed honestly, free from emotional games or manipulations, and it builds deep trust between partners. It's essential to note that effective communication doesn't mean zero conflict. All relationships face challenges and disagreements. The key difference is in how those conflicts are handled. A mature man generally understands that the goal isn't to win, but to solve the problem. It's not about proving he's right, but finding a path that works for both parties. This mature approach to the inevitable conflicts in any relationship contrasts sharply with the dynamic often found among younger couples, where each disagreement can become an ego battle, and every argument a test of who's right. Over time, many men learn that being in a relationship isn't about competition. It's a partnership in which one person's success is also the other's success. Patience is another virtue that often comes with age and experience. An older man has usually developed a greater ability to delay immediate gratification for more significant long-term goals. He understands that truly valuable things, whether a deep relationship, a meaningful career, or an important personal project, require time, dedication, and perseverance. This ability to persist patiently, even when results aren't immediate, provides a strong foundation for a lasting relationship. After all, any meaningful connection goes through phases of struggle and difficulty. The capacity to stay committed and dedicated during challenging times, trusting that shared effort will eventually bear fruit, is one of the best predictors of long-term success in relationships. Self-knowledge is another crucial factor that often develops alongside maturity. Over the years, many men gain a clearer understanding of themselves, their strengths, weaknesses, values, and priorities, as well as their emotional reactions and behavior patterns. This self-awareness forms the bedrock of more authentic, fulfilling relationships. A man who truly knows himself doesn't need to use a relationship as a mirror to define his worth or identity. He doesn't depend on a partner to fill internal voids or compensate for unresolved insecurities. This emotional autonomy paradoxically allows for deeper intimacy because the relationship isn't weighed down by unrealistic expectations or excessive emotional needs. Epictetus emphasized, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This succinctly captures the importance of self-knowledge and personal integrity. A man who has defined his values and lives in alignment with them displays a genuine authenticity that many find deeply appealing. The ability to remain present, to fully experience the current moment without getting lost in past regrets or future anxieties, is another quality that often grows with maturity. Being truly present, something the Stoics greatly valued, creates a level of connection and intimacy that goes beyond mere physical closeness. When you're fully present with someone, listening attentively, observing with genuine interest, responding sincerely, you create a space for intimacy to blossom naturally. This capacity for presence is especially precious in a world increasingly dominated by endless distractions and fragmented attention. Emotional generosity is another trait that frequently develops over time. An older man has usually moved beyond the self-centeredness that can mark earlier stages of life, cultivating an ability to genuinely consider the needs and desires of others. This generosity often manifests in the willingness to make compromises, let go of personal preferences when necessary, and prioritize the relationship's well-being over short-term individual gains. This ability to rise above immediate self-interest for the sake of a greater shared good is a hallmark of true maturity. It doesn't mean erasing oneself or making unbalanced sacrifices. Rather, it's the recognition that in a genuine relationship, what benefits the couple as a whole often benefits each person in deeper, more lasting ways than any temporary individual advantage could. Respect for the partner's individuality and autonomy is another quality commonly found in more mature men. Over time, many men develop an inner security that allows them to fully support their partner's personal and professional growth without feeling threatened. They understand that a healthy relationship doesn't erase individual identities, but instead nurtures each person's development. This respect shows in how they value their partner's opinions, goals, and contributions, in their active support of her ambitions, in their willingness to adapt and evolve together, while still maintaining space for each person's uniqueness. It's a delicate dance between unity and personal autonomy, between togetherness and individuality, requiring both maturity and inner confidence. The capacity to commit deeply without fear or reservations is another characteristic often more pronounced in older men. While many younger individuals may still resist commitment, whether out of fear of missing out, insecurity about personal choices, or difficulty envisioning the future, a mature man has usually moved past these hesitations. He recognizes that genuine commitment isn't a trap that limits possibilities, but a conscious choice that paves the way for deeper intimacy and partnership. It's the decision to fully invest in a relationship, to build something meaningful and long-lasting, and to tackle life's inevitable challenges side by side. This willingness to commit wholeheartedly conveys a sense of security that helps a relationship thrive. When both partners know they are equally dedicated, neither constantly weighing other options nor keeping one foot out the door, insecurities and vulnerabilities can relax, making room for deeper human connection. Sexual maturity is another aspect often mentioned by women who prefer older partners. It's not just about technique or experience, but a more patient, attentive, and generous approach to physical intimacy. A mature man has often worked through the insecurities and self-centeredness that can define younger sexuality, developing a stronger focus on mutual pleasure, emotional connection, and open communication. This maturity shows up in being ready to learn and adapt to a partner's specific preferences, understanding that intimacy goes beyond just the physical act, and taking the time to create an emotional context that enhances the experience for both. This can lead to more satisfying and meaningful physical intimacy that strengthens the emotional bond. Determination and perseverance in the face of challenges are other traits frequently linked to older men. Over the years, many of them have tackled professional, personal, and health-related obstacles, developing a resilience that lets them keep going when times get tough. This determination can be invaluable in a relationship because it conveys a sense of confidence that obstacles will be faced with courage and persistence rather than avoidance or defeatism. The Stoics placed a high value on the virtue of courage, not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act rightly despite fear. This moral courage, the willingness to do what is correct even when it's difficult, creates a foundation of integrity and dependability that's deeply attractive in a long-term partner. A sense of purpose and meaning is another trait often more developed in older men. Over time, many evolve from seeking primarily external success and recognition to focusing on deeper significance, positive impact, and legacy. This shift from self-centered goals toward a broader, more meaningful life perspective adds a depth of character that's very compelling. A man who lives with purpose, who strives to make a positive contribution to the world, and who's guided by meaningful values rather than fleeting gratifications, projects a spiritual maturity that transcends chronological age. This orientation toward meaning creates the possibility of a relationship that's not just about mutual convenience, but about shared purpose. Balancing different areas of life is yet another quality often better developed in older men. While many younger individuals can be overly focused on a single domain, work or social life, for example, neglecting other crucial aspects, a mature man generally appreciates the importance of cultivating a healthy balance among career, relationships, health, personal growth, and other fundamental areas. This balance shows up in his ability to be fully present in each aspect of life, to allocate the right energy and attention to each priority, to realize that a truly successful life doesn't maximize only one dimension at the expense of all others, but fosters a harmony among the various facets that make for a well-rounded human existence. Another facet that often emerges with maturity is the ability to express vulnerability in a healthy way. Paradoxically, many men have to develop a solid sense of inner security before they feel comfortable sharing vulnerabilities in an authentic manner. A genuinely mature man knows that showing vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness, but of courage and honesty. This ability to share fears, insecurities, and struggles without emotional manipulation or a desire to be rescued creates a space for intimacy in which both partners can be genuinely themselves. It's not about overburdening the relationship with unresolved issues, but about letting the other person see true aspects of your internal experience, building a bond based on authenticity and mutual acceptance. The wisdom to discern what really matters is another quality that often comes with experience. Over time, many men learn to distinguish between genuinely important problems and fleeting annoyances, between fundamental principles worth defending and personal preferences that can be flexible, between goals that promise lasting fulfillment and those that offer only short-lived gratification. This discernment fosters an ability to focus on things that truly matter, avoiding unnecessary friction over trivial issues. In the context of a relationship, that wisdom translates to understanding which differences demand real resolution and which are natural variations of personality that can be tolerated, which behaviors indicate deeper issues and which are simply expressions of individual quirks. Authentic humility is yet another quality that can flourish in older men. Through time and experience, many develop a more realistic sense of their own limits, a greater ability to admit mistakes and learn from them, and a genuine willingness to seek advice and feedback from others. This humility is neither self-deprecation nor insecurity, but a realistic acknowledgement of one's strengths and limitations. A truly humble man doesn't need constant affirmation of his worth or status. He can admit when he's wrong, offer sincere apologies when necessary, learn from his partner, and truly value her input and perspective. This humility creates a relationship environment where both individuals can grow together, unencumbered by excessive pride or the desire to dominate. It's crucial to remember that not all older men develop these qualities, just as not all younger men lack them. Chronological age by itself doesn't guarantee emotional maturity, wisdom, or personal balance. There are very mature younger men and very immature older men. We're discussing tendencies and patterns, not absolute rules or guarantees. What truly makes a man attractive at any age is his ongoing cultivation of qualities like emotional balance, practical wisdom, personal integrity, commitment, emotional generosity, and other traits we've explored. For many women, these attributes simply appear more often in men who have had more time to develop them. This is where Stoic principles can be so valuable for any man who wishes to nurture these attributes, regardless of his chronological age. Stoicism, with its focus on character development, emotional self-mastery, practical wisdom, and personal integrity, offers a roadmap to building the very traits that make a man deeply and lastingly attractive. So instead of merely observing these relationships with curiosity or envy, you can extract important lessons about what truly matters in long-term attraction. If you're a younger man, you can start immediately cultivating the qualities that often take decades to develop naturally. If you're already in a more mature phase of life, you can honestly evaluate whether you're reaping the full benefits your years of experience could provide. The principles of Stoicism outline a clear path for developing these qualities. Practice emotional self-control by distinguishing between what is and isn't within your power. Make virtue and excellence of character your main objectives. Cultivate practical wisdom by reflecting constantly on your experiences. Practice moderation and balance in every area of life. And always remember how brief life can be, using that knowledge to focus on what truly matters. By embracing these principles, not only will you naturally become more appealing to women who value maturity and depth, You'll also shape a more meaningful, balanced, and fulfilling life for yourself. In the end, genuine attractiveness isn't about shallow techniques or tactics of seduction, but about the authenticity, integrity, and depth of character you develop along the way. An authentic commitment to personal growth isn't fast or easy. It requires honest self-reflection, a willingness to confront your own shadows and vulnerabilities, and the determination to keep growing even when it's uncomfortable. Yet, the rewards of that inner work show up in more profound relationships and in every other sphere of your life. Remember, it's not about pretending to have qualities you haven't fully developed. Inauthenticity is quickly spotted. The point is to commit sincerely to your own path of growth, recognizing that true maturity isn't a final destination, but a continuous journey of evolution. By understanding the deeper qualities that make some older men so appealing to certain women, you gain a valuable insight not only into these relationships, but also into the attributes that create meaningful, lasting connections. And that understanding can profoundly transform how you approach relationships and life as a whole. What you choose to do with that insight is entirely up to you. You could ignore it and keep looking for shortcuts and superficial fixes, or you could embrace it as an invitation to a genuine path of personal development, one that not only makes you naturally more attractive but also enriches your overall life experience. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By nurturing balanced, virtuous, and thoughtful habits of mind, you'll naturally become the kind of man who fosters deep, meaningful, and fulfilling relationships, regardless of your chronological age. This is the true power of Stoicism when applied to relationships. It shows us that lasting, profound attractiveness is not a matter of luck, looks, or fleeting seduction strategies, but the natural outcome of a lifelong commitment to personal evolution. And that path is open to any man who has the courage and persistence to walk it. So the next time you see a couple with a considerable age gap and wonder what brought them together, you'll understand it's rarely just about age. It's about the cluster of qualities that typically, but not inevitably, come with time. The good news is that these qualities can be cultivated intentionally, no matter your current age. Imagine how your life might look if, over the next few years, you devoted yourself to developing these stoic attributes: emotional composure, genuine presence, effective communication, emotional generosity, personal integrity, and practical wisdom. The impact would be transformative, not only for your romantic relationships, but also for your professional, social, and even spiritual dimensions. Intergenerational relationships give us a fascinating lens through which to examine what we truly value in human connection. When a woman consciously chooses a significantly older partner, she's often prioritizing substance over superficiality, depth over appearances, and authentic connection over fleeting thrills. This choice reveals a great deal about human nature and what truly sustains meaningful, long-term partnerships. It's also worth noting that each relationship is unique, with its own dynamics and balance. Some couples with large age gaps achieve a perfect synergy, each person's qualities complementing the others, creating a relationship in which both flourish. Others confront significant obstacles, such as mismatched values or life stages. As with any partnership, success depends not just on individual qualities, but on compatibility and a shared commitment to growth. The qualities we've explored: emotional maturity, practical wisdom, personal balance, clear communication, emotional generosity, personal integrity, are invaluable in any relationship, regardless of age difference. They form the basis for an authentic, deep, and lasting bond in which both partners can grow together. Stoic philosophy, emphasizing the cultivation of virtue, mastery over emotions, and practical wisdom, offers a hands-on guide to developing such qualities. When you read the works of Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, or Epictetus, you find not just abstract theories but practical insights on living with integrity, balance, and wisdom, the very traits that make a man truly attractive on a deeper level. So, rather than envying relationships in which older men attract younger women, Use that observation as inspiration for your own progress. Ask yourself, which specific qualities have these men developed that make them so appealing? How can I cultivate those same qualities in my own life? What elements of my character need more growth and refinement? By honestly answering these questions and following through with genuine effort, you embark on a journey that not only makes you more attractive to those who value maturity and depth, but also greatly enriches every part of your life. You become the kind of man who doesn't need gimmicks or superficial tactics to form meaningful bonds, because your very presence, character, and way of being naturally draw in people who resonate with who you are. The true beauty of this approach is that even if, hypothetically, you never found a romantic partner, a highly unlikely scenario, you would still have built a life of immense personal meaning and intrinsic worth. The same traits that foster deep relationships also lead to a fulfilling, intrinsically rewarding life, regardless of external circumstances. As Epictetus advised, beautify your inner self. Don't let the lion's fierceness, the wild boar's teeth, or the serpent's raised crest arouse your admiration. Reserve your admiration for kindness, integrity, justice, and charity. These are the qualities that truly matter, that truly attract, and that build a life worth living. And remember, developing these qualities isn't a short-term project, but a lifelong commitment. Even the wisest Stoic philosophers admitted they were never perfect, and always had more to learn, more to improve, more to refine in their character. The point isn't perfection, it's genuine dedication to continuous growth. Every day, you have opportunities to practice emotional mastery in the face of difficulties, to communicate with more clarity and empathy, to act with integrity even when it's inconvenient, to cultivate wisdom by reflecting on what you experience. Each of these small acts of growth draws you closer to the man you have the potential to become. Over the years, these seemingly small efforts accumulate, gradually transforming not just who you are but how you engage with the world. People around you, including potential romantic partners, will respond not merely to what you do, but to who you've become, to the quality of your presence and the depth of your character. That's the real secret behind some women's preference for older men. They're responding to the qualities these men have cultivated over time. And now that you understand the pattern, you too can deliberately nurture those same traits, accelerating your own personal and spiritual development. The journey won't always be smooth. There will be times of doubt, frustration, and apparent backsliding. There will be days when you fail to live up to your own ideals, surrender to old habits you're trying to break. But as Marcus Aurelius noted, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your setbacks, failures, and obstacles all become opportunities for growth when approached with the right mindset. Each time you stumble and get back up, each time you confront a problem and find a path through it, each time you acknowledge a shortcoming and strive to overcome it, you strengthen the very qualities we've been discussing. It's this continuous process of self-improvement, the willingness to face your own challenges with courage and perseverance, that ultimately turns you into the kind of man who naturally attracts profound, meaningful relationships. Not because you're trying to impress or conquer anyone, but because you've genuinely become the sort of person with whom others want a deep connection. And in the end, there are no real shortcuts to that kind of growth. There's no magic, formula, no secret technique, no hack that bypasses the essential work of personal transformation. The path is straightforward, though not easy. Commit to your own development, apply Stoic virtues to your daily life, reflect honestly on your experiences, and keep learning from them. That's the invitation Stoic philosophy extends to us, not just to understand these principles intellectually, but to embody them, making them part of who we are and how we engage with the world. When we do so, we find that real transformation is possible, not overnight, but gradually, consistently, over time. And so, the next time you see a couple with a wide age gap, your perspective may have shifted. Instead of curiosity or judgment, You may see an outward reflection of internal qualities you yourself are working to cultivate. And perhaps that moment becomes not a mere passing observation, but a reminder of your chosen path, the path of continuous self-development, practical wisdom, and personal excellence. That is the true gift of Stoicism, a deeper understanding not only of others and their choices, but also of ourselves and our potential. A clarity that, when applied consistently, turns us into the sort of people who not only attract loving, meaningful relationships, but who also live a life worthy of being lived, no matter the external circumstances. And there is no higher goal we could set for ourselves, nor a deeper achievement we could attain.